Hello, and welcome to the Full Advisor Coaching Podcast with Kristin Harad. Kristin, good to be with you again. How are you?
I'm great, Bill. How are you?
I'm well, thanks. I'm well. At this point where we're taping it, I'm a little overwhelmed with the amount of pollen that's in the air, but other than that, I'm doing fine.
The good news is, Bill, we have a guest today, so hopefully we won't put too much strain on your voice, and we can have
That's
the
showing mercy
conversation
to the
separately.
listeners.
Exactly. Exactly. Today's pretty exciting because I am bringing on one of my mentors and my business coach, who I've been working with for an eternity at least. I don't know. It's been a really long time.
It's been a good.
I can't, we were trying to figure out how long, and we're like, it doesn't even really matter. Today I'm really excited to welcome Arlene Moss, who you may know from all of her posting, sharing, speaking for XYPN, where she's an executive business coach there and has really been an essential part of the growth of XYPN. And you'll see her frequently speaking, whether it's at Napa or Schwab, Impact, or Jolt, or of course, XYPN Live. And these are just a few of the things, but most exciting, she's usually posting something fun and enjoyable out on social so that we can remember not to take ourselves too seriously, and have, know that all of this is also to be enjoyed. So Arlene helps keep me on track, and I'm excited to have her here today. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, thank you. I'm so excited to be here, and I love that intro. Yeah, I don't take social media very seriously, so even
It's
on
my
LinkedIn.
favorite part. You just give full permission for someone to be like, yeah, emoji, head nod. I totally get it. Yeah, it's
Yes,
really fun.
yes. I'm all about that. I'm all about being your real self, being all of you. So,
Yes,
oh my gosh.
absolutely. And having been my business coach for so long now, and I was thinking I think we met back when at a conference, probably
I
a decade ago. I mean, it's been a long time.
I can picture it. Like, I remember the room. I could
Me
get, if
too.
you took me to that property, I could find my way to the room and be like, I was standing here. But
Right.
I can't tell you what year it was. I
Me
want to say
neither.
like 13, maybe
Right.
12.
I was like,
Um,
it would have been around that time. And
yeah,
so,
yeah.
that's a we've been through a lot since then.
We
Yeah. And
have, we
I was gonna say,
have.
I don't even recall when we started working in the coaching capacity, but nonetheless, you have seen evolution from me over the years. I've seen your career bloom and grow and change. And it's been pretty exciting.
Yeah, yeah. It is. It's really wild to see how it changes, how you can, maybe not reinvent yourself, but shift and
I think
take
it's like
turns on your
evolve.
path.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, when you met me, I was on the education team, but I hadn't actually, I guess I had just started to switch into coaching role and doing
Mm,
what at the time we called member concierge, which it
okay.
sounds like I should have pants with a satin stripe down the side of them, but it was a lot of coaching and training and whatnot. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
that's, oh my gosh, and that wasn't too long before I went independent, had my little venture out on my own, and I think you probably joined me at that point. I'm not positive.
Right.
I guess
Right.
I could have checked my notes. It's not like I don't have the data, but I
Well,
didn't
it's
get to
not
it.
not
But
important.
anyway, yeah, then went in with XY, and XY was kind enough to let me drag some legacy clients in with me, and that's nice because that was kind of going to be a deal breaker. Like, I'm not gonna. I love these people. I'm not firing anyone to be with the likes of you, which is funny
Oh,
because I love XYPN members
I
too.
know. I was going to say,
It's
I'm
just a
really
joy.
excited. And congratulations on the 10 years to XYPN. I know that's a big milestone this year. Talk about evolving into something new.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that's going to be our theme today, right? Like, how do we have a vision of where we're going and evolve into something new? sometimes intentionally and directionally, and sometimes when you wake up and go, wait a minute, I want to shift gears or change, or I'm in a new spot now and I have a new view. And I think XYPN has really gotten to that point with the new branding and launch and just the overall evolution of the membership.
That's the key, right? I mean, we have
Right.
our mission, which remains very solid, but in the early days, the very early days, a special breed wanted to join forces, and they
Mhm.
were on board with like, oh my gosh, we're disruptors, here we go. And Maddie and I were over there just creating content faster than we could even breathe, and just it wasn't perfect.
Right.
Sometimes maybe it wasn't even good, and we are just throwing stuff out as fast as we can, trying to just stay ahead. And folks were great because they were part of it, but you
Mhm.
evolve as a business and as people. And now we have so many more folks who are like, no, no, you better have figured it out. Like, I would like to
Right.
join and have you have all the things situated for me. I'm not a
Right.
disruptor. I'm part of this movement, but I'm not a big disruptor. So it's kind of
Right.
interesting to see that evolution of membership. A lot more established firms, and my sweet spot is that boutique, that small team. That's
Mhm.
kind of where I live and love to be. Definitely still work with our solos, but I've evolved into more of this team element, and it's so fun. You never get bored. And I love that we're modeling that for other people, and as are you. Like,
Right.
we all get to grow and shift and pivot, and that can happen for advisors as well. So
Yeah, I mean, it is so true. And I think anyone, definitely as businesses evolve, but anyone who is of our stage of life with the experience that we have,
I love it
find
when you do this, because you
I
you
do it all
pull
the
me
time.
down into your age group, and I'm like, I love you, Kristin. Thank
I
you.
know, I know. I just think of us in the, you've tracked if you've always the one of the another piece just for context is, yes, you've coached me on my business and helping me evolve and keeping me on track to my vision and where do I want to go and making sure I'm setting boundaries and all of that. But I also have sort of tapped into your you're an empty nester. I'm not. I had to launch. I launched my son to college last year. My daughter's in high school, and it's not uncommon that sometimes our sessions spend a little time there. So
They
again,
do.
this is what we've seen about the personal and professional coming together, and that's really what I kept seeing as a theme from way back, like the first time I probably brought it up in our sessions. I think it was years ago where I was like, what I really enjoy is helping people find fulfillment in personal and professional. And
Yeah.
so
I
that's a big theme.
It's such a big thing, and it's funny because I knew obviously we would touch on that today. So I went through my notes,
Mhm.
and I just searched on the word fulfill just to see, like, how much is this really part of who you are as a human. And in 2019 is the first time I happened to use that exact word. And at that time, we were talking about your content strategy, and you were like, this is what I love to help with.
Right,
And
right.
this is what, and I was like, oh, that's funny. And then we don't mention it. Poor 2020. We're
Yeah.
just keeping our head above water. We do not talk about being fulfilled at all. And then it bubbles back up as we get to the end of 20. And I was laughing because my notes at one point, right after I saw that word, right below it, it says, Kristin says she's over this pandemic. And this is like late 2021.
Oh,
And
funny.
I'm like, haha, aren't we all? Like, these are the kind of professional notes I take.
Right.
But
Yeah,
it was
exactly.
really
No, but
cool to see how that just kept circling back, and like you're
yeah.
percolating and you're bubbling, and then finally you're like, oh, visionary. And I
Yeah.
don't you mentioned that you might have the actual whiteboard that you sent to me. Do you have that? Are you are you in the mood to share that, or
I
is
do,
that
I
too
do
much under
have
the
that.
covers for?
Yeah, no, I do have that. It's unfortunately not too legible, but I have what it essentially was. And I don't, can we do screen share on this? This is a quick
Oh, we
question for
may
Bill,
not.
producer.
Yeah, go ahead, do screen share.
Ooh, cool.
Oh, wow. Okay. Because, we do have the YouTube version of this where people want
Yeah.
to see,
Right,
but I'll
right.
speak to it anyway. This was before we get into that though, I do want to note that the theme didn't just originate in 2019. I mean, way back in 2002, maybe. I started doing some coach training, life coaching, and all that stuff. And we've kind of talked about that in episode 1 and
Yeah.
some other ones about, well, it's just always been a theme, but I didn't necessarily see, it's always been my perspective, but I didn't necessarily see how it fit into the work I was doing until I started working with advisors who, through my CMO offering, where I'm fractional CMO, when I started seeing a theme about this version 2.0 and reaching version 2.0 and having to face those challenges and saying, what do we need? Where do we want to go? And then I started seeing the commonalities around my coaching and addressing things that weren't always marketing related, a lot more business, running a business type of stuff. And then also, how am I folding this into my life, right? And my achievement and wanting to reach my full potential without sacrificing everything.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
no good being just focusing on the marketing and then, oh, yay, look at my business development. I developed a business I don't even enjoy, or that doesn't
right,
fulfill me, or doesn't
exactly.
feed me. Like, oh my gosh.
Yes, and it's hard to get anything done when you think about it in that vacuum. So here we are. This has never been revealed.
I love it so much. It brings me great
I
joy.
mean, I just remember I like to write and visualize. And so I just remember testing out a name, being like, I like this idea of full, right? And so I
Mhm.
remember distinctly putting full in the center of the board at this whiteboard. And then saying, what does fulfill mean? And of course, it originally, I was thinking of the origin of it came from wanting to help people who felt like they had more potential, and they were feeling that sense of mediocrity of like, I know I have more and I've reached a certain stage that
Yeah.
I want to do more, be more, earn more, impact more, contribute more, participate more in a fuller life, right? So I kind of I just started drawing like, what do I mean by full? And I think I've mentioned in previous episodes the idea of a full life and the wheel of life, full life, work life integration and balance. And so my thinking here was like, all right, there's full potential, there's I want to be successful, right? Remember we talked about like full of clients, pretty quite literally, I want to be full of clients, right? It's very literal.
In case anybody wonders if you're doing this just out of the goodness of your heart.
No, yeah. No,
Not
but it's
entirely.
also I know advisors. I mean, people who are looking to form version 2.0 of their business, and they've evolved, they've gotten the experience, they've gotten to this point. They're
Yep.
taking
Yep.
they're taking on the next iteration. It's like you want to be profitable, you want to make money. You you know, you want to have an impact. I think impactful was another element of it.
Yeah.
We've talked a lot about that, about making a difference, um, uh, helping employees, helping clients. Like a number of the advisors that I talk with also want to create career tracks for uh, employees, helping younger generations in the evolve and step into roles. So that was a big element. Um, Kind of the vibe of this was also just around the glass half full and being positive and abundant. I know, you know what, there's just as we talk of your social media posts, there's just no room really. I mean, for negativity, for scarcity, for closing out, things like that.
Right. Just I am such a huge believer in that. And maybe it's because of where you and I live. You know, we are in this little rarefied space of financial planning where truly you can have this abundant mindset that you can build up more for your next generation, for your colleagues, for your clients. It's a wonderful place to spend your life. So
Yeah, I
I
was gonna
I
say,
love seeing this again because
I
I
know,
remember
I'm
when
like,
you sent it to me, I was just like, "What? This is so cool." I love a good
yeah.
whiteboard exercise too.
Yeah. I mean, just getting full of energy, being mindful, intentional, aware. And I put down on the board, which was something we talked through too, is kind of like what I don't want it to be, or what I want to take people away from, as well as what I want to take them toward.
Mhm, mhm.
So it was like mediocrity, regret, negativity, imposter syndrome, scarcity, all of those things that are kind of like the antithesis of full potential, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then having support, right? Connection. I want one of the big things that I've wanted to help people get over, and I know that you help with this too, is just feeling lonely in the profession, feeling isolated.
Mhm,
And even as part of a boutique firm or an enterprise firm, being dispersed, not really having a lot of client meetings are over Zoom, a lot of regular meetings. You don't always meet your team members face to face.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
lonely, right?
It
So
it is. It absolutely is. And what is interesting is I'm looking at this is realizing that the community and the connection, not you have them over there on, kind of right above loneliness, like they're going to help with that, but they're going to help with that negativity, that imposter syndrome, and that scarcity mindset. The more you see evidence of abundance, the more you're going to buy into that. And there's nothing better. You and I have done this for one another. And I
yes.
hope I'm not telling tales out of school, but both of us have had moments where we're like, am I a flippin' fraud? What the heck? And each of us has to reach across, the virtual world and say, no, snap out of it. Like, no, you're
Right. I would
and
say we've had the text that I'm, that, hey, I need 5 minutes. I'm dipping down. And you've done that to me. I mean, like,
yeah,
no
yeah,
matter how many years of experience and proof you have of like your ability, you can be exposed to that, which
yeah,
is definitely something I see with any advisor coming in saying, yeah, I'm gonna go for it. Because I have the advisors who come in have gotten to, they've cleared 1 million in revenue, maybe 5 million in revenue. They might even be pushing and bumping up against 1 billion in assets under management. Sorry, 10
mhm.
million in revenue ish.
I love how you just switched right there. Like,
I
wow.
know, I
I knew
know.
I was tracking, but it was also amusing. So
Yes, I know. I need to remember to be consistent in my numbers, but you get to a point where it's like, what am I going for this? Am I doing this? Am I gonna hang and tread water, which is fine too. It's just you have to make sure you don't get stuck
yeah.
in that
Let me
middle.
let me ask you a quick question. And I know I think I'm supposed, I'm the guest, but too bad. I'm gonna ask you the question. Um, are you finding that your folks that you're working with, you're having some nice focus time on their shifting role? Because that's the thing I run into is folks who are, maybe they're just not doing planning meetings very much anymore because they're mostly the visionary, they're running the firm. And so they've got to step back to a handful of wonderful clients they love, but mostly they are not a planner anymore. How are you is that something you address in your program? How are you working with folks on that?
Yeah, absolutely. That is a big part of what comes along, which, as you well know, like as you grow, you start, you're wearing so many different hats, but then at some point, especially if you started solo and then you built and added advisors or planners or support or whatever, you have to step more and more into that CEO role,
Yeah.
and have to figure out, okay, sometimes there can be like a separation where it's like a bit of an angst of like, I'm not doing that work anymore. And other people get excited because they have wanted to be in the leader role and like they understand that means that they do have to let go of the necessarily client relationships, and some welcome that, right? But
Mhm.
absolutely stepping into what is that mindset, what does that mean, and looking at the full picture in terms of profitability and business development and all of the things that perhaps they didn't focus on as strategically in the past. It might have been just a bit more like, you know, work hard, do what you can, and get to where you want to go. But now it becomes more strategic and thoughtful, and you're saying, "Wow, there's people working for me. I have, you know, I have other people counting on me and leading the team." And sometimes that means it's a few different team members who are working with me. Who, you know, it's like a CEO, a COO,
Mhm.
coming in and being like, okay, let's look at what we want to create, where are we going, and then how do we shift not only our, you know, our mindset and vision, but also how do we inspire those in the up and coming generation.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you're singing my song. I love doing that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
you're a pro at that as well. I know
I,
that.
yeah, it is funny how parallel our
Mhm.
lives are. And I do thoroughly enjoy having a team concept in a meeting. Sometimes, you know, you got to be on your toes, but and you're doing a group situation and I don't. I stick in the one-on-one space for the most part, or you know,
Mhm.
1-on-3. But making sure everybody's heard, it just kind of watching the temperature of the room, and I love just keeping my eyes peeled for nonverbals, you know,
Mhm.
somebody's leaning back, somebody who's scrunching their brow, somebody, you know, I love that stuff. Or like, oh, Jen, I don't what tell me a little bit. I feel like you're thinking something there. Is there anything behind that
Right.
brow? And it's also funny because sometimes it's real and you get there, and then sometimes they're like, oh, I'm sorry, I just got an email. And you realize they're scrunching
Right.
at a screen. I'm like, oh, pay attention in class. So,
Yeah.
but I love working with folks like that. And oh my gosh, you mentioned, you know, the G2, the next generation,
Right.
building residency programs, building internship programs. Those are all these things folks can do when they get that clarity on their where
Right.
they're
Right.
going. So it isn't, yeah, it's not just keep on growing and growing,
Keep on,
growing.
keep it on. Right. Yes, because then
Right.
they end up not being intentional about even the part around balancing personal fulfillment, right? Because you can let that go and then be like, well, I just have to get to that next milestone and then I will do that piece. It's like, how do we do it along the way, right? And have the trade-off back and forth so that we're not waiting
Yeah.
until next big milestone, and then we'll have time and we'll be able to do these different things. It's like,
Yeah.
how do we set it up along the way so that we don't burn out, that we can stay energized. A big focus of the way that I approach it is, what do we have energy behind? What are you feeling good about? What are you feeling excited about? And trying to help those leaders and visionaries step into the role that they feel energized by, whether it is, you know, business development or more employee training and morale, and looking at that. So we look at the different parts, right? And say, what brings you energy? What brings your team energy? Where can you find the right players for that and shape the firm so it's going where you want it to go? And allowing you to have a good old time in the meantime, right?
Right, right. And you know, it's interesting, the abundance mindset. Sometimes I get focused in on that as being there's enough clients to go around. We don't need to compete. But what you're talking about, and maybe it isn't exactly abundance, but I find that for every job one person loves, there is another person who's like, oh, please don't make me do that. I would like to do this. And you know, I look at our compliance team at XY. We have
Yeah.
we have a fantastic compliance team. I gush because I can't even imagine their life. Like having to know the rules and make sure people obey the rules, and 50 different states with rules, and like it makes me want to weep. And
Yes.
so I fangirl over our compliance department, and that's what I want these advisory firm teams to do. Like, what
Right.
you manage the office and you do all the HR. Oh, blessings upon you. I'm going to go over here and work on compliance, and I'm going to go over here and work on the investments. There's all
Right,
these great
right.
things, and I love that you're helping people find those spaces. So
Yes, it's very, very fulfilling to watch people step into, it's sort of cliche, who they want to be, which sounds goofy and coachy. But again, I mean, it's all backed by
perspective.
strategy and a clear plan and,
Mhm.
priorities based on, looking at like, where are you making money? What makes the most sense? How do we make you a sustainable firm over the long term? It's not just about like, I feel good,
Right.
let's be real. Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Yeah.
that balance of, oh yeah, money, because money makes the world go round. Speaking of cliches, it's
Yes.
really, yeah, you got it. But everybody has their different definition of enough. And
Right.
that's what's fascinating and helping people figure out what is enough and what is enough for now. Painting those pictures,
Right. Right.
different stages. You talked about me being empty nest. It's like, I've had people, apologize for how they're working or being in the world when they have young kids. I'm like, oh no, this is the season. You do what you need to do and want to do for
Right.
this season. And then we're gonna get to another
Yeah.
season and you're gonna do
Yeah.
things a little differently. And
I
yeah.
love that perspective. You've helped me a lot on that perspective too, because the season is kind of like, okay, because as you know, I've, been shaping this new brand and kind of that was juxtaposed to getting my son senior year, getting into college, my daughter starting high school, and me saying, all right, I need to pace myself so I don't miss this. I don't want to miss this. And
Mhm.
so I know, like, and even within the school year, there were different periods that were more involved where it's like, oh, it's wrestling season and I want to be at this, that, and this other event.
Yep.
Or we have some other family trips planned or exciting, college visits or whatnot.
Yep.
And you've helped me remember to reframe, be like, yeah, your season is a trade-off. So we trading off between, the two and finding that, sort of yin and yang and balancing that out. And so that is something that, I, a lot of advisors I work with grapple with that same thing because they don't want to be just, known for the business, right? They're very family oriented or friend oriented or experience oriented, travel oriented, whatever it is.
Yep.
And so I think
And
kind of go ahead.
yeah, we hear so many shoulds in this industry.
Yeah.
And uh, I'm anti should, I think, is I'm not sure that's a real thing, but it is that I should be doing this because all the cool kids are doing it. And social media feeds
Right.
into that.
Oh,
Maybe
I
that's
know.
why I'm
I know.
such a
That's
hot
one of the
mess on
problems.
social media. Is because I'm like, no, just do, you do you.
Right.
And it's okay. Like for some people, 60 hours a week fits their life. Okay, you want to
Right.
work 60 hours a week, you want to just power through right now. That is your choice. I just want to make sure
Right.
you're making it because it's your choice, not because someone is sending some should message to you.
Right. Right.
So,
Exactly. But I think all of it folds into, again, setting that clear vision of what you want and then having the support you need to prioritize and put the things in place and figure out the timing, figuring out the steps along the way, and having the community support too, and seeing others who are experiencing the same thing and making trade-offs that might be different than yours, but you're seeing that it's okay to make those trade-offs. And that's what I see when I'm doing these group programs and group interaction. And that's what energizes me in this whole in working in the role that I do in this industry. So
well, that's a fun win. We help people get energy and live their very best life, but by doing that, we are in turn living our best
I
life.
know that's just
What
it.
a
It's like,
what a
woo!
quintessential win-win. Like,
I
yay,
know. I'm like, that's kind of meta, but it's true.
it is.
Yeah. Speaking of fulfillment, you know what fulfills me and what I'm all about. And I've talked about my family and travel and living abroad and working out and all those things. What fulfills you?
Oh my gosh. Okay,
Yeah.
you're supposed to send me things like that ahead of time so that I can have a
No.
really
What
pithy,
fills your
wonderful
cup?
answer.
Yes. No,
Okay,
I want to know.
well,
Yeah.
I know, like, because XYPN pays the bills, I should probably start with like working with members fulfills me, and it does. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to act as if it doesn't.
Yeah.
I love what I do. Working
Right.
with our members, working with in this very specific fee only, fee for service space just brings me all manner of joy. But if we got to the absolute core of who I am as a human being, the parenting element, which I have brought into
Mm.
my work, helping people help, not just advice, do your homework advice, but just accountability, sounding board. That's been a theme so much of my life. And for
Interesting.
many years, it was my children, it is advisors, it is making space for people to become the very, very best that they can. And in my head, that always triggers back to being a parent. Although I realize, even
Interesting.
as I'm trying to say this coherently, that it isn't. It's how I relate to all of humanity.
Right.
It's- I
Right.
just, I love that.
Right. Yeah.
That
I mean,
is,
that gets
yeah.
to the Dan Sullivan concept of unique ability and who are you in any role in your life, whether or not, it's the actual, like, that's what you do for work. It's like, that is just at a core who you are and what you're very good at.
Right.
And kind of bring it down a level. What do you do for fun?
Oh, that's easier. Okay. Um, Travel as much as we
Uh,
can. We love to ride bikes, although I am not a good, I keep trying to be a year-round cyclist, and I kept thinking if I just got the right gear, so that I wouldn't be cold. And then finally this winter, I realized it isn't the gear. I have the gear. I am terrified of ice and gravel in the winter because I road
oh,
bike. I road bike.
okay.
So
Oh,
once it
okay.
starts to snow,
Oh,
there's
fun.
gravel on the road, and they don't clean it up till spring, which I don't begrudge them that at all, but they're not sweeping the streets again till spring. And then ice patches happen in the shade, and I'm a big chicken. And like
Oh,
I don't like falling. That is not my favorite.
mm,
So I've come to terms with we ski in the winter, we bike in the summer weather, we hike
nice.
all year round. Outdoors, I guess that's the theme we're hearing. I
Yeah.
like to be outdoors. I'm not as awesome as you on the working out thing. I do like to pick up heavy things, but not nearly as aggressively as you do. But I do, it's embarrassing. I go to the gym and my husband will be like, TikTok, we got places to be. And I'm like, no, we've only been here 2 hours. What? You're ready to
Oh
leave? And he's
gosh.
like, who are you? So
Wow.
anyway, so those are the things. And I'm very lucky that all my children grew up, and I discovered that I really, really love my husband a lot. Like, he
Oh,
is the
phew.
best. We have, oh my gosh. And I'm also saying this on the tail end of a week-long business trip. So that might be the business trip talking. He gets home tonight and I'm like, I'll come pick you up in Denver. Don't even worry about the layover. I'll get you in Denver, and don't fly down to the Springs, because then I can see you, 3 hours,
Oh, that's
whatever.
nice.
So
Yeah, well, that speaks a
anyway,
lot to what you value, which yeah, that's fun. That's
yeah,
exciting. And
yeah. And Bill's like,
well,
I'm gonna edit that out. She's getting a little too goofy. Let's just splice this part out.
maybe, I don't know, but uh anyway, what I do want to give you a minute to, like, pitch what you do and share some. I know you sent me a list of like a ton of resources, so we'll put that in the show notes. I know
Okay,
XYPN
beautiful.
puts out, speaking of those resources that you just and Maddie tried to just churn out, churn out, and churn out. They
Most of
have
those have been retired.
they have I'm like, you have a beautiful library of free resources that we'll put a link
Right.
to, all kinds of things for starting an RIA, for doing a business plan, for compliance, for a whole slew of things that can
Oh my
help
gosh. And
advisors.
yeah, I don't think there's any original Maddie and Arlene stuff out there anymore. I think it's all been retired. The content, the guts, the information behind it is coming through, but we have definitely polished a lot of stuff. We have some wonderful designers on staff that make it look pretty. So that's all good. So yeah,
they're
head over to the
beautiful.
free downloads if you're somebody who is, fee only, RIA curious, that's a place to go. If you are someone who is running a firm and you're a little, you're in that 2.0 phase, it's a great place to come over and get some support that you need to help you do those more fulfilling things. So not to steal your word there.
No, absolutely.
And
It's
I
true.
encourage folks who are curious. By the time you said this is going to probably air in June, right?
Right.
Yeah, we'll be in Minneapolis in October. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
October.
October.
And
Yeah,
I
I'm
get to
excited.
see you.
I know I
so
get to see you.
yay.
I'm excited. I'll be there talking
Yeah.
on stage having a session. So I'm hopeful people come and join us both. It's a
People
great
better come, bring it
conference.
all.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a
so
great
I
conference.
always encourage folks to come to the conference. It's very much a member focused conference. So we've made that decision that all decisions around what happens at the conference are focused on the member, not the prospective member.
Right.
But that's what makes it such a great view into what XYPN membership is. So I encourage people to come and see us in Minneapolis. Reach out to our membership team, grab those free downloads. I work mostly, except for some of those legacy fun friends, mostly in-house. So
Right.
I don't need to do a hire me pitch
Right.
for myself specifically. But we have one thing I love about XY is not everything is an add-on. Sometimes you
Yeah.
join places and it's like, oh, but you wanted to talk to that person. Oh, no, that's going to cost you. And I am an add-on for certain things, but Maddie Roach, the other executive business coach, she and I partner up on Mondays and do drop-in coaching, which is
Right.
one of our favorite hours of the week where members just
Oh, I
pop
bet.
in and ask anything. And we have, oh my goodness, I bet we have 6 or 7 of those throughout the week with different teams. Compliance has 3, ops has some, invest has some, like all the different business lines and areas have a way for you to join XY and then connect with those experts that you need in your space. So
That's great. Yeah, we'll have that out there. And I know a number of people in my program are also XY planning members. So I mean, it's just a great offering, and having resources there make a lot of sense. So a pleasure, Arlene, having you on today.
Thank you. Yes, thank you
We
for
could go
including me.
back and forth for hours as we can, and Bill's gonna
We
start
can.
to have
And yeah.
heart palpitations here, being like, let's wrap it, ladies, let's wrap it up.
Let's wrap it. Let's wrap it up. You clearly kind of know each other. Okay, that's obvious in this conversation. But I just have to throw this in really quickly. You know what fulfills me? A great whiteboard. And we got a great whiteboard in this episode. So
Yes.
Oh, I love a good whiteboard
I know,
session.
don't you know?
I know.
It's like
Nice.
I sat there and looked at it, I thought I really need to go out and buy a really large whiteboard right now for my office.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Yeah.
only have a mini one here. I had to go off site for that
Oh.
one, but
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I had an office
yeah.
once where one wall was a whiteboard. The
That's
whole
the
wall
best.
was.
That
Oh.
would be my dream.
Oh, it was awesome.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
like, oh, but look what I have. I have a whiteboard wall.
I think you can get, glass will work.
Sure.
obviously.
Well, glass will work, but
So,
you can also buy
yeah.
the whiteboard paint, for lack of a better
Can-
word,
Oh.
and make a wall a whiteboard.
Okay.
Wow.
We did a chalkboard wall one time in my daughter's room.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I recommend that.
No, I
no,
wouldn't
but
recommend that.
I'm
The
gonna just
whiteboards, yes.
sell the house and
Yeah.
let whoever buys it from me deal with that ridiculous parenting
Sorry,
choice. But
you've got to go
I
deal
didn't
with
know you
that
could do a
eraser.
whiteboard. That would have
Yeah.
been a
Yeah,
smarter
I was like,
choice for us.
if people don't take anything else from this episode, they can be like, I think I'm going to get back to the whiteboard with some ideas, and like take your idea. What's your version 2.0? Put it,
Yeah.
get out the pens, make the circle, start the mind map, and
Boom.
have fun with it.
And there's something about that tactile element. Like I've tried it and I do it sometimes on computer versions, but there
Computer
is
versions
something
aren't the
about
same.
the
No,
hand
I
versions
like
are
writing.
not
I like
the
using
same.
the ink.
No,
Absolutely.
you're all right, Arlene. It's got to be tactile. You got to be actually, your hand has got to be making that stuff, and your mind has got to be leaking out through your arm into the wall.
Yes.
That's what has to happen.
100%.
So the contact information for Arlene is in the show notes for those of you listening or thinking, "Oh my God, what's going on here?"
Hopefully it
Your
isn't just
contact
for men.
information for Kristin as well. But Kristin, just really briefly, if people are listening and are thinking they really would like to reach out and talk to you, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, they can go to the website, fulladvisorcoaching.com. I will put a quick urgency button in there to say I am launching the next cohort of the program we've been talking about. It's launching mid-July. So you can go in, click book a fit assessment, have a conversation with me, set up a call, or send me an email, Kristin@fulladvisorcoaching.com. We'll get you on the calendar. You can talk through that. Otherwise, there's plenty of resources on there to get your feet wet and learn something new. So fulladvisorcoaching.com is the best place to go.
Super. Learning something new is always a really good thing to do. For those of you who are listening to this podcast and this is your first time, here's something really, really, really easy you can do. Reach out and hit that follow button. Become a subscriber. That's very easy to do. And then every time Kristin drops a new episode of this podcast, you'll be notified. You can give it a listen. I would also personally ask that if you like this information, if you find it useful, talk about it, share it with people. Word of mouth is a great, great tool for promotion, and we would appreciate that. Until next time, I'm Bill Tucker on behalf of Kristin. Thank you so much for listening. And I would remind you that today is a day you can go out and make today a great day. Or not. It's your choice. Have a great one. Until next time.